Washington Post comes for President Buhari over detention of Omoyele Sowore. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari has come under severe criticism from international media organization, the Washington Post. The Washington Post has condemned Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari over the continued detention of Sahara reporters Omoyele Sowore. With the arrest of a prominent journalist, Nigeria's Buhari is up to his old tricks. Political strongmen would have you believe they are tough as nails, but they always turn out to have very thin skin. Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari likes to call himself a converted Democrat. At least that's what he said during his 2015 presidential run, when he was attempting to rebrand himself as a reformer after a long career built on repression. Yet dictatorial habits have proved hard to give up. When Buhari ran for president in 2015, it was with the promise of a Nigeria free from the political repression and silencing of dissent that were hallmarks of his tenure as head of state from 1983 to 1985. Since his re-election earlier this year, matters have only gotten worse for journalists in Nigeria. Perhaps the most outrageous case involves Omoyele Sowore, a prominent journalist and political activist who remains in prison in Abuja, the Nigerian capital, even after a judge last week ordered that he be released on bail. He's been cited, among others, for cyber-stalking. The president, a bizarre accusation unless you consider reporting and political commentary a form of predatory behavior. It would seem that Buhari does. Across the board, journalists were worried about an escalation of anti-press patterns in a possible second Buhari term, says Jonathan Rosen, senior Africa researcher at the Committee to Protect Journalists. Unfortunately, they've been proven right. In a November 7 statement, Femi Falana, Sowore's lawyer, said that although bail conditions were stringent, his client had met them all, but in utter contempt of the orders of Justice Ojukwu, the State Security Service has refused to release Sowore. Sowore, the founder of the New York-based website Sahara Reporters, is being charged with 7 felony counts, including treason and the cyber-stalking of Buhari. Whatever that means, in Nigeria we repeated attacks against journalists and the use of alleged cyber crimes to silence them, Rosen told me. Sowore created Sahara Reporters, which is devoted to political coverage of Nigeria in 2006. His aim was to bring greater transparency to Nigeria politics. The website is credited with breaking many stories of financial corruption by the state, which is what landed Sowore behind bars this time around. In a media landscape known for being vibrant, if heavily influenced by political elites, Sahara Reporters has become one of the key sources for news that exposes official wrongdoing. Sowore came to the United States in the late 1990s. Before leaving Nigeria, he had been detained on 8 separate occasions for his political activities. After arriving here, he completed a graduate program at Columbia University. It is not so much a problem of freedom of speech, Sowore told the New York Times in 2011, but freedom after speech. You can say a lot of things in Nigeria, but the question is, will you still be a free person? Will you still be alive after you freely express yourself? This year, he returned to run against Buhari in the election. He did not win and instead ended up in prison for being a vocal critic of the state and its policies. According to the wife of Sowore, she said, "My husband is not the only journalist in this situation. It is always the same thing. They've taken orders for speaking out against corruption." Omoyele Sowore, the J journalist's wife, told me, "It's a disturbing trend when journalists and others who are trying to make the country better are silenced through detention." The judge in the case this month set bail at more than $550,000 with additional conditions, barring Omoyele Sowore from speaking to the press, participating in rallies, at other political events and barring him from leaving the capital, Abuja. Sowore was originally set to be released last Wednesday, but his website reported that the agents of Nigeria Secret Police blocked court bailiffs from following through on the judge's order. His wife and their 2 children, a 12-year-old daughter and 10-year-old son, who live in the New York area and are all US-born citizens, have not heard from the journalist since August when Omoyele Sowore did a radio interview here in the United States. All indications are that Sowore has been held in solitary confinement during the entire period of his detention, which has now passed the 3-month mark. Since the State Security Service is not above the law of the land, we shall embark on appropriate legal measures to ensure compliance with the court orders, Falana said. Nigerian authorities should immediately release Sowore. So guys, how will I just put it? Sowore also has come out to tell Buhari to release Sowore, that this is an embarrassment, in the whole entire world. Everybody is watching, everybody is looking, seeing what is happening. There is nobody that will not hear all of these things. So no matter how they want to try to suppress people, because the reason of all of these things is because they are the most affected. We've heard from the proposed bill from the Senate saying the penalty that will be meted to anybody involved in hate speech is going to be, death by hanging. And people have been asking, most of your people who are always corrupt, find guilty in one way or the other, some allegation of corruption. Why is it that it's so rampant? What are you going to, what is the penalty that will be meted on those who are allegedly to be corrupt? They are not saying anything. But because of all of this, it's because of the bad governance that they are involved in. That is why they are coming out with all of these stringent policies. Oh, you must not do this hate speech and all of that. It's just very unfortunate that they were so lucky when they were, involved heavily. They invested heavily, in hate speech. Here and there, they used all manner of propagandas. And that was how they came in. Nobody disturbed them. They were so lucky because it was good luck. But when it came to their own turn, they don't want anybody to say anything. I'm sure the journalists and the social media would have been a very, very good tool for them, which they use coming to power. If they are going, or if they are ready to do the right thing, to do the needful, if they are ready to abide with what masses really want, it would have been a good thing for them to even, for their news to go viral. If you are doing the right thing, no matter what, people must talk about you. And if you do otherwise, definitely you cannot hold people. You can't silence people. You cannot silence everybody. You can silence some people, but you cannot silence everybody, because the more you continue or you keep on silencing some people, the more you are embarrassing yourself the more. Which Omoyele has said, and I told them, the whole thing is made open. It's already open. It's in the public domain, not only in Nigeria, all over the world. They are seeing the position of the government. So what do we really still need to talk about all of these things? We are just saying the same thing. They're saying the same thing. In the first place, the way and manner at which he was arrested was not even the right thing. But good and fine, because they are using their power, because they are the one controlling everywhere. Good and fine. The man has met the bail conditions. So what excuse are they going to give now? That is the question many people have been asking. That is the question people have been asking. Then what are you waiting for him to be released? The unfortunate thing now is that a lot of people are even blaming Sowore. They are laughing at him. Oh, you said good Lord Jonathan was weak. So what are you experiencing? Now you have a man that is strong. See the way he's dealing with you. All manner of things. People are saying all manner of things that he caused these things for himself. If he caused this thing for himself, then that means you want the way and manner at which this country is going. That is what you want. That is the way you love it to be. Then let's continue with it, if that is your own definition of castigating the man. Like I always say, and for people who are really patriotic, you have Sowore that spoke against Jonathan. Why? Because they didn't do well at all. That is the gospel truth. They didn't do well. Everybody complained about them. The people who did not complain about them are the people who were close to them. Just the same thing, the people who are really close to this government, they would not see anything wrong in what they are doing. In as much they themselves, their bread is being buttered from time to time, they will not see anything wrong with what they are doing. Now the same Sowore, if you say, okay, he brought Buhari, how many people that campaigned for Buhari, check all of them. Who among them is coming out to say, no, what you are doing is not right because we brought you in? They can't say that. And you have somebody who is not saying, for the fact that irrespective whether by error or by whatever, he brought in Buhari according to what people are saying. Now, the man you thought or you allegedly said he campaigned for, he's still complaining about what is happening, and you yourself know that things are not going on well. You cannot come out and talk, and you are saying he brought the man in. How did he bring Buhari in the first place? If he had brought him in, he's still castigating him. He's still saying, no, what you are doing is not right. So are we not supposed to give kudos to such a man, that no matter whose us is God, he will still say things the way they are? So why are we like this? Brought Buhari in what sense? He brought Buhari and he's still castigating what Buhari is doing. So why are you holding him, to that? But everybody is entitled to his opinion. But the issue now is that he has met the bail condition. Why are they keeping him? The whole world is watching. The whole world is seeing everything. And they want development to come to this country. They want investors to come to this country with this kind of attitude. It's not going to work. It's not going to work unless somebody who is ready to play the game with them, or who wants to waste his or her money, that will want to come. In everything, talk about infrastructure is not there, electricity is not there. What are you going to talk about? It's not there. Rule of law, they don't obey court order, and you want them to come. They're going to wait in vain. That is just my own opinion. And that is what, again, this Washington Post, asking him, they should release him. They are criticizing him. Why are you not holding him? Are they going to tell us that he doesn't know what is happening? He doesn't know that is what's the situation of things right now? They cannot form ignorance. So guys, let's hear your own opinion concerning this. Bye.